place.
Saw X is the terrifying prequel we didn't know we needed. It takes place between the first and second movie, so we've got Amanda returning with an all-new, all-creepy pig mask, and the somehow touching backstory of what brought Jigsaw to life. So, on the off chance that anyone here isn't familiar with the cultural phenomenon of Barbenheimer, it's the concept that you go see two movies back-to-back that premiered on the same opening weekend. Barbie and Oppenheimer is a great example to compare, because what Saw X is bringing to the table is, well, Saw Patrol. Yep, you heard that right. Saw X and Paw Patrol are coming to theaters at the exact same time. And yes, a lot of people will be partaking in this hilariously timed double feature, even though the Saw X movie poster is some sort of vicious trap ready to annihilate a victim's eyeballs, and Paw Patrol is, well, a kids movie. These two films are only being released on the same day in the United States, so other fans in places like the UK will have to go see Paw Patrol and The Exorcist for their double feature. Leave me a comment below and let me know how that goes. So let's talk about runtimes for these movies. Typically, they've all been about 90 minutes, with the longest runtime, Saw 3, holding the record at an hour and 48. The director, Kevin Greutert, said Saw X is the most epic installment of the franchise yet, and it's chock full of action from beginning to end. They didn't waste any precious scenes in the editing room, and Saw X now holds the record for the longest running movie in the entire series. When we're editing a Saw movie, we do not waste time. So the fact that it's long, I think, is a testament to just how well done it is.
There will be blood.
So, not only is the movie longer than the rest, but it's going to be the first one in the franchise in a long time that brings back the feel of the original Saw movies.
I still have a lot of work that needs to be done.
It also helps that the timeline is set in the earlier years. More on that later. Kevin Greutert admitted that on his first directorial debut in the franchise, Saw 6, he just didn't have the confidence that he has now. I like to think that we were all just much better at it, and more experienced, and Tobin Bell in particular has spent so much time immersed in this character that he's kind of fleshed out. Like I said, a huge part of the reason this is gonna look and feel like the earlier Saw movies is because Saw X takes place in the timeline between the first and second films. They wanted this movie to be easily digestible for people who haven't seen the entirety of the Saw franchise. It can also be watched as a standalone, so don't let the fact that you haven't seen them all discourage you from checking it out. The goal was to keep the film simple and straightforward, but they are making sure to answer some long-standing questions that fans have been asking about the series. The director hasn't touched on what happened to Mark Hoffman at the end of Saw 3D yet, so that's one thing up in the air fans are a bit anxious about. Looking at you, Kevin. Saw X is being described as the franchise's most personal story yet. Not that having to cut off your foot or dig around in a bin of syringes isn't personal, but this story has a bit of heart to it. The main plot point that might surprise viewers is the humanizing of John Kramer. The backstory is that he travels to Mexico to try and receive an experimental treatment for cancer, but when he returns to the United States, he learns that the whole thing was a scam.
According to these scans, the tumor was never removed.
Now, this is definitely a bit of a spoiler, but it goes with the personal backstory of the film. There's truly a reason, whether it's logical to us or not, why John Kramer does what he does. You'll find out in the film that a clinic gets held up at knife point, where John's wife essentially gets forced to miscarry, and it's tragic. I'm not sure if it's tragic enough for a reverse bear trap, but who am I to say? That's right before John gets his terminal diagnosis, so yeah, our villain's origin story is in full swing.
You all pretended to cure me.
Soon after, he ends up trying to take his own life, but he fails and rediscovers his passion for living, and voila! Jigsaw is born.
But what I have planned for each of you is very real.
You could describe him as some sort of alternative life coach with fatal results. They actually did not only one, but two test screenings for this movie. The first one went so well, the audience was truly floored by it, that they thought it had to be a fluke. They were like, no way the movie went over this well. Let's do a surprise test screening to get a second opinion. So they waited until the very last minute to reveal the location of the second screening to hinder the chances of bringing in an audience that might be too friendly. But it still received the same acclaim that it had from the previous audience. So yeah, apparently the movie is very good. Let's talk about Amanda Young real quick. She was a prominent figure in the first 3 movies and gave us the glorious pig mask and robe combo that soon became one of the most iconic horror villain costumes. Something really exciting about Saw 10? She's back with a brand new pig mask. Producers have revealed that Amanda was always supposed to make a comeback and that her presence is integral to the plot. Considering this movie is set in the earlier years of Saw, we're gonna get to see the relationship between she and John unfold. If you're truly unfamiliar with Amanda's character, she starts off as one of John Kramer's victims and ends up with a similar mindset to John at the end of her trial. She develops a newfound love for life and essentially becomes his apprentice in his life coach business. Eventually, though, she started rigging her traps so her victims couldn't get out of them, which caused a rift between her and John. I'm curious to see the in-between moments of their relationship and how it ended up developing that way. A lot of fans were wondering about whether or not Dr. Gordon would reappear for Saw 10 because he ended up escaping at the end of the first Saw movie and wasn't seen again until the final chapter. Now, it's been a hot topic of discussion whether he would make a cameo of some sort, but unfortunately, it looks like we won't be seeing him again. He's been quoted saying a lot of things about the movie, particularly about his lack of involvement in it, but it was never confirmed until recently. I'm happy for the filmmakers that they continue to make money and that it seems to be a financial bonus for them. I really can't speak to it because I'm not really involved anymore. But even though we won't be seeing Dr. Gordon again, we do get an exciting cast of fresh faces. We'll be seeing Renata Vaca from Midnight Family, Paulette Hernandez from Crown of Tears, Joshua Okamoto from Control Z, Octavio Hinojosa from Come Play With Me, Synnøve Makodi Lund from Ragnarok, Stephen Brand from The Sandman, and Michael Beach from Dahmer. We've also got Josh Stolberg, the writer from Jigsaw, and Peter Goldfinger from Spiral as the screenwriters. Spoiler alert, there was an exclusive clip shown at the Midsummer Scream featuring the trap that's in the movie poster. I'm not going to go into too much detail because it's a little too gory for my YouTube guidelines, but I'll give you the gist. Basically, the trap is connected to the dude's eyes and fingers. They were told to choose which of the 2 they wanted to keep. No big deal, right? So yeah, moving the dial up snaps a finger back one by one, but unfortunately he runs out of time and his eyes are sucked right out of his sockets. Total bummer. So yeah, that should give you a bit of an idea of what we're dealing with here on this next installment. No shortage of gore. Let's talk about the inspiration behind some of these traps and rigs. A lot of the time it comes straight from the script. What's on the page is what's shown on the camera. But sometimes it's a bit more nuanced. Kevin talks a little bit about how they come up with these things. I have lots of books on medieval torture machines and other dark stuff, and sometimes we just pour through it and shoot ideas off each other. Just another casual day at the office, shooting ideas back and forth about medieval torture. He also said when it came to the stuff they were doing on Saw 10, he got really nervous from a safety perspective. He also was concerned that things would look super ridiculous once it was actually all put together. They did a lot more testing on this movie than the other movies. They ended up having to split the shoot into 2 parts, 3 weeks in November and 3 weeks in January, because everything was just so complicated. They had to make an insane amount of prosthetics and machines, and they spent pretty much the entire Christmas holiday just working on that stuff. For fans of the franchise, this is some very exciting news. It looks like Saw 10 is not the end. Kevin is ecstatic to see how this movie mulls over with audiences. If it's successful, it's very likely that we would get another one. There's no obvious new direction to go after this film, but I think there probably will be more Saw movies, particularly if this one is successful. So the reason why there's no obvious new direction is because of this film's heavy reliance on the past, which I'm not complaining about. I want answers. Kevin teases that there are a lot of surprises in store for fans, as well as a lot of, you guessed it, answers. He described it as something like a storytelling cul-de-sac. It's more about building more on what's in the past rather than planting seeds for the future. So truly, this franchise could go anywhere after this. Saw 10 delivers horrifying new traps, a brand new cast to torture, and answers to long-time questions fans have been itching for. Judging from the 2 successful test screenings and the nightmare of a snippet that was shown at Midsummer Scream, it looks like this next Saw installment is one you're not gonna want to miss.